when you say that step, you talking about when you say that platform, which platform are you talking about? You talking about like
Just
Spotify? You talking about like
just
Instagram?
in general, because I feel like it all ends up encompassing it's in itself when you're doing it and you're trying to make something happen. So really, just everything as a whole.
Mm. Um, I definitely feel like I'm way more comfortable making
Mm,
music. I'm like,
mhm,
I feel like I remember when I used to like, it's been a couple years ago, and like a lot of my favorite artists, like when they started dropping their like second or third project, they started saying like, "Yo, I don't care no more," and
mhm,
I never really understood that,
mhm,
and now I understand not the term not caring means that like you trust yourself, so there isn't any second guessing
mhm,
when it comes to like the finish line process of the record, like you know what I mean. So
mhm,
I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'm doing math sessions and I'm like understanding that like, yo, I trust myself. Like I don't need a second guess. I don't need to sit on this record for a year and like fine tune and do 20 different mixes and all this other shit. Like we're gonna have one session, we're gonna have two, we're gonna knock out what we need to knock out. We're gonna, finalize the record, get it to where it's at, and then boom, send it off onto the next. And kind
mhm,
of that's how I've been um running recently and just been way more prolific, you know
mhm.
what I mean, that way.
Yeah. So that made me think of two things, right? That what was that process for you to get to that point, right? Because you said you didn't understand it when artists were saying it on their second or third albums and things like that. That
Yeah.
clearly something has to happen, like I said, that switch has to be flipped. So was there something in like your personal life or just as you were creating or something that you seen in the process where you were just like, this is how I do it and this is how I make it work for me?
I think first like um dropping my first body of work. So this is like my first album, but I dropped like an EP Summers back in like 2017.
Hmm.
And that was like my first like baby, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And even though it wasn't like as curated as this joint is,
Hmm.
um, I feel like it was my first like, oh shit, I got something to like send out.
Hmm.
And like that process of like even having like any lick of music in the world, like I'm like, I um I understand like where artists is coming from when it comes to like uh being like super unapologetically like confident in a craft.
Hmm.
But this reborn shit was just like I like these records like I feel like they don't sound like none of the shit that I was putting out like back then.
Hmm.
And it's I still go back to it and I'm like fucking with it. So that's what I mean. Like it's like okay, like our production value has like increased OD, you know what I mean, for real.